Most people believe financial freedom begins at $1 million. They spend their lives chasing six figures, convinced that until they reach some mythical number, they'll always feel behind. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. The real turning point happens at $20,000. Imagine opening your banking app not with shame or anxiety, but with quiet confidence. Not because you're rich, not because you won the lottery or landed a huge raise, just because you have that first 20,000. It doesn't sound dramatic, but it's the difference between living with fear and living with options. It's like pushing a massive rock uphill. The climb feels endless, painful, frustrating, until suddenly you reach the top, gravity shifts, and the rock starts moving on its own. That shift, the moment when money stops working against you and starts working with you, happens around 20,000. Before that, everything feels like rowing against the current. After that, the current finally begins to carry you. When people think about wealth, their minds leap straight to seven figures. Gurus love repeating that unless you're making huge numbers, you can't feel secure. But that idea is a myth, and it keeps millions trapped. Most people will never see $1 million in their accounts at one time, and yet many still manage to live with peace, freedom, and control. Why? Because there's a much smaller milestone that's 100 times more powerful in everyday life. 20,000. It may not look impressive on paper, but its psychological and practical impact is enormous. Before 20,000, every purchase is a battle. Should I get a coffee or will I fall short on groceries? Do I pay this debt or do I save? Do I fix the car or do I hope it survives another month? After 20,000, the entire game changes. The number doesn't make you rich, but it gives you a cushion, a foundation that transforms the way you think, decide, and react. Without savings, your brain lives in what psychologists call survival mode. Every decision is filtered through fear. You say yes to jobs you hate because you can't afford to wait for something better. You stay in places that drain you because leaving feels too risky. You accept conditions you don't like because you need the money now. It's not just responsibility. It's biology. Your brain can't plan for growth if it's busy putting out fires. It's like trying to design a future while your house is burning. You can't. But once you cross that 20,000 threshold, something extraordinary happens. Fear stops being the main voice in your mind. Your decisions stop being reactive and become strategic. You finally have space to ask new questions. How can I grow this money? What opportunities can I take? Which moves will bring me closer to the life I want? The shift from survival to strategy is the difference between struggling and rising. Now let's talk math simple, but life-changing. Imagine you commit to saving consistently and invest those savings at an 8% annual return. Reaching your first 20,000 takes around 19 months. A year and a half of discipline, sacrifice, and patience. It's slow, heavy, and that's why most people quit before reaching it. But here's the magic. The next 20,000 doesn't take 19 months, it takes 17. Not because you're working harder, but because your first 20,000 is now working for you. The snowball has started rolling. By the third block, the time shrinks even more. That's compound interest. At the beginning, it feels insignificant, almost pointless. But once you cross that first hill, growth accelerates on its own. Later in life, when your investments reach around 400,000, generating an extra 20,000 can take as little as 5 months. The same number that once took more than a year now appears almost automatically. And it all started with the first 20,000. Reaching 20,000 isn't just a financial milestone, it's a behavioral transformation. Think about what it requires. You had to say no repeatedly, resist impulsive pleasure, stay organized, delay gratification, and stick to a plan month after month. That process rewires you. It changes your identity. You're no longer someone trying to save. You become someone who knows how to control money. Someone who can commit, stay focused, and win the long game. That discipline is a superpower. If you can do it with 20,000, you can do it with 100,000, with 500,000, with whatever comes next. The number matters far less than the person you became along the way. When you live paycheck to paycheck, any unexpected expense becomes a crisis. The car breaks down and your entire budget collapses. Your laptop dies and suddenly you're in debt. Rent goes up and you lose sleep for weeks. But with 20,000 in the bank, These situations change category from disasters to inconveniences. A problem that once ruined your month now barely interrupts it. And better yet, your mindset expands. You start seeing opportunities where before you only saw threats. A friend tells you about a business idea, and instead of thinking, I can't participate, you can actually evaluate it. A discounted property isn't a fantasy. You can run the numbers and consider investing. A conference your employer won't pay for is no longer impossible. You can go, learn, grow, and multiply your income afterward. That is the real power of a financial cushion. It gives you options, and options open doors to new futures. Having $20,000 saved also changes your relationship with work. When you're stuck living paycheck to paycheck, you can't take risks. You tolerate toxic bosses, impossible schedules, and low pay because you need the next deposit to survive. You lose negotiation power. But with $20,000 saved, the story flips. You have what many experts call walking away money, enough to say no when you need to. Do you know how liberating that is? Suddenly you can ask for the raise you deserve because the worst case scenario is simply being told no and you'd still be fine. You can decline abusive projects and you can explore better opportunities with calm and clarity. And here's the surprising part. You don't even need to spend the money for this to work. The simple fact of knowing you have it makes you more confident, more assertive, more valuable, and that confidence often leads to earning more. Money doesn't just buy things. Money buys freedom. Money buys negotiation power. Money buys time. Money buys dignity. But this is where many people stumble. They hit $20,000 and think it's time to celebrate in a big way. They buy a new car, take a luxury vacation, or use the money as a down payment on a house they can't really afford. The problem is that $20,000 is not a trophy. It's the foundation of everything. It's the seed that can multiply if you let it grow. Think of it like planting a young tree. You don't rip it out of the ground the moment it sprouts. You water it, protect it, and give it time to become something much bigger. Your $20,000 is the same. Don't treat it as the end of the journey. It's the beginning of your financial freedom. When you're at zero, your mind obsesses over small things. You compare cereal brands, agonize over whether a coffee is worth it, fight with every dollar. And at that stage, yes, every dollar matters. But after $20,000, something unexpected happens. You stop focusing on the micro and start focusing on the macro. The things that truly shape your future aren't the tiny expenses. They're the big structural decisions. Where you live. What car you drive. How much you invest every month. Those decisions move your wealth by tens of thousands, not by a few bills here and there. Think about it. A $30,000 car isn't just a car. It's $30,000 that, invested for 20 years, could become over $200,000. Suddenly driving a used car doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like a strategic move that buys you years of freedom. After $20,000, you start seeing life through a different lens. You no longer ask, can I afford this today? But what does this cost me in my future? This shift is where real wealth begins. Before, your money reflected your emotion. Sad, buy something, stressed, spend something, overwhelmed, indulge. Money became a pressure valve. But once you build that cushion, your mind starts behaving differently. You no longer spend to soothe emotions. You spend with intention. You filter every decision with one simple question. Does this bring me closer to freedom or farther away? And, surprisingly, you often realize you don't actually want the things you thought you wanted. That bigger apartment costs 5 extra years of work. That expensive hobby isn't actually meaningful. That status symbol doesn't move your life forward. It's not about being cheap. It's about clarity, long-term thinking, and aligning your money with what truly matters to you. $20,000 doesn't make you rich overnight, but it draws the line between reacting and designing, between surviving and building, between a life shaped by fear and a life shaped by intention. It's not a finish line. It's the starting point. It's proof that you can do hard things, that you have discipline, strategy, and the will to change your life. But above all, it marks the moment when money stops controlling you and you start controlling money. And when that happens, you finally become the kind of person who sees opportunities, Who thinks long-term, who leads their own path? Start now. Build your base. Your future self. The one who lives without fear. The one who chooses instead of reacts. The one who wakes up with options will thank you. And if you want to understand the hidden forces behind modern money, and why most people never escape the financial game they're stuck in, go watch the previous video, The World Game Few People Ever Notice. That video completes the transformation you started today.